Have you ever woken up and said to yourself, whose life is this? And how did I get here? Where were you when you realized that cash rules everything around me, cream, the money, dollar bills, y'all? Yeah. Who knew that the Wu-Tang Clan's 90s hit would lay the landscape for how our society views money today? And maybe that's where you find yourself because this life doesn't quite look the way you thought it would, and neither do your finances. After all, Mike Tyson used to say, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And that's where I found myself in 2018 when I logged on to my student aid account and saw just how much student loan debt I had actually acquired. The number literally sucker punched me right through the screen. Now, I won't give you the exact number, but let's just say it was more or less in the ballpark of $100,000. I know, you just gasped, so did I. And I almost passed out too when I read the number because whose account is this? It can't be mine. But it was, and unfortunately for me and 44 other million borrowers, this is a reality. But this isn't what we were taught growing up. As an 80s baby raised in the 90s, our sitcoms bombarded us with messages of high school seniors celebrating a prom, throwing their graduation caps up in the air on the football field, contemplating where they would go off to college in the fall, leaving their high school sweethearts behind. And then magically they're transported to the university of their choice, where they find themselves in perfectly decorated dorm rooms, eager to begin their adult lives. I mean, that's not really what happens here. I mean, seriously, when was the last time you saw a show where the main character was getting a party thrown for their decision to attend a trade school? No. Seriously, the closest thing you ever see is a small town girl leaving her one stoplight town headed to, you guessed it, beauty school that she eventually drops out of. So we apply for college, we get in, we get excited, and all of a sudden the record scratches. They never show that part of the sitcom. And it's not until the very end during your university-mandated exit counseling that you start to feel like maybe I should have made some different choices, dreamt some different dreams. And just like that, our white picket fences go up in flames. Now, this was the moment where I first started to feel like my adult aspirations might be a little too far out of reach. In that moment, I was laughing with my friends who were also experiencing the same disheartening news at the same time, but the weight of student loan debt already began to feel like an elephant on my chest. And the days of depression turned into weeks of feeling overwhelmed by that number. I hated talking about money. I felt so betrayed by it. Worry surrounding that number consumed every aspect of my life, where I went, where I lived, who my friends were. And weeks turned into months and months into years of being tormented by that number that never seemed to change. I was exhausted. My body, mentally and physically, had had enough, and one day shut down. One day, in the middle of an unintentional nap, the place where you're not all the way asleep and you're not all the way awake, I was reminded by a small, still voice that this was my life to steward. And I was reminded that my value is far greater than any amount of money that I could ever owe. So I did the best thing I knew how to do, and that was pray. And call a therapist because faith without works is dead. And it's going to take Jesus and a therapist to help me navigate this hot mess. So over time, I started to discover, although it was factual that I had this massive amount of debt that I had to pay, the anxiety and the feelings around needing to live up to someone else's standards for my life were completely false. So over time, we developed strategies that I put into practice that helped me stay more present in my reality, and we came up with a commitment plan that allowed me to maximize my life moving forward. Now, like any mindfulness practice, this is something that happens over time, and it didn't just change overnight. No, this is a journey, and everybody has their own journey. And so, I'll be honest, I feel better. So much so now that as a counseling student, I'm now learning the same strategies and techniques that helped me so that I can help someone else. And not to gas myself up, but your girl is out here thriving, okay? Thank you. So now that you've heard my story, let's be real, my dramatic story, now I want to guide you into a new way of thinking about all of this, and we'll call it a mindful reframe on student loan repayment. Now, during my story, I highlighted 3 different groups that you may have resonated with, and because I said this is a journey, everybody knows every good journey needs one good thing, and that's a bomb playlist, snacks and a bomb playlist. We will use the tracks on our playlist to help us as a map in navigating our mindfulness journey moving forward. So, let's all take a deep breath together. Then let's get into it. Group number 1. This is for all of you who are not in school right now but are thinking about it. First of all, congrats. But hold on. Before you take out any student loans, though, let's be smart about this. Your future self will thank you, and your mindfulness journey actually begins before you take out any student loans. I know there's a lot of emotions going on right now in your body. You're feeling all the feels. It's normal. But this section of our playlist is called Pause and Think. Intentionally think about how your body feels when we talk about money and your decision to go to school. I know it's easy to get lost in the allure of concerts and sports teams, and for you in the back, maybe state-of-the-art recreation equipment, who knows. But consider the hefty price tag that comes along with all the bells and whistles. Pause and think about your reason for going to school in the first place. Are you going for the glitz and glam? Are you going for the education? So group number 1, here's your track list. Number 1, pause and breathe. We started this journey with a breath because you always have time to take a step back and breathe. Don't let anybody pressure you into making any hasty decisions. This is your life, not theirs, okay? And number 2, pause and be present. Notice how your body feels right now. This moment is never going to be here again. Think about the emotions you are feeling, ranging from excitement to anxiety. It's normal, and you're not alone. And number 3, pause and think. Think about the life that you want and how your choice of college will be affected depending on how you make financial and career goals going forward. So group number 2. This is for all of you who are currently in school, paying for it on borrowed funds. Hold on, don't fight me. I'm just the messenger, stay calm. I'm here to remind you that you're doing the best that you can. And in this section of our playlist, it is called awareness, which means we need to become aware of what's going on with that financial aid package. Are you taking out student loans right now? How can you make other decisions to maximize your future going forward and make it a little less stressful? So, group number 2, here is your track list. Number 1, increase your knowledge. Increase your knowledge of what's going on with financial aid. I suggest soliciting trusted advice from mentors and advisors who can help you navigate what all of this means, because after all, if you can understand the acronyms and the terms, that's the first step. Number 2, increase your self-care. Now, let's be real. This can be some stressful stuff. So, think about your eating, your sleeping. Think about the self-care routine and rhythms that you can create to kind of decompress from all of this. And number 3, increase your financial literacy. Seeking out a certified financial coach who is skilled in helping you navigate and create a foundation from which you can expand your money, your career, and all of your options going forward. Now, finally is group number 3, everybody who's currently in repayment. I understand. I hear you back there. I understand. I'm right in there with you. And like I said before, many of us did not grow up with financial literacy, either because we weren't aware of how to manage our money, or it could simply be due to the generational cycles around our community's access to money. But now, in this moment, we get to define the relationship. Because we had these stories taught to us, we created what Lakeisha Boston calls money scripts, aka the lenses on how we view money and the power we give to it in our lives. Maybe for you, you didn't grow up with money, so you always vowed to yourself to never find yourself in that predicament again. Or maybe you were always taught that in order to be successful, you had to achieve a certain amount of money. It's okay. Many of us were taught that. So here's your track list, group number 3. Number 1, define your relationship with money. Has it been a toxic one? Do you need an intervention? It's okay. Take inventory, but now is time for you to define the relationship. Number 2, define the relationship with yourself. I know that this stuff is stressful, and I know that it's easy to take a toll on your mental and emotional health. But I'm here to remind you that you are smart enough, you are capable enough to navigate all of this. This does not define you. And number 3, define your relationship with debt. Not just student loan debt either, credit card debt. I know y'all got some credit card debt. But all of these strategies can help you in defining your relationship with debt. Do you see money as a tool? How can you maximize what you've done in the past to increase your life going forward? Now, because I'm in this with all of you, here is a bonus track. Define the relationship with a licensed mental health professional. I suggest somebody who specializes in acceptance and commitment-based therapy, because they're specifically trained to help you stay present in your reality in a less judgmental way and maximize your life, specifically for you with coping skills and going forward. So whether you're a part of group number 1, about to make a life-changing financial decision, group number 2, right in the thick of it, or group number 3, ready to accept the past and ready to move forward. Let's be real, student loans suck, repayment suck, but your life doesn't have to be a cautionary tale. In fact, with a gentle reframe and an extension of grace towards yourself, you can actually be present in everything that life has to offer right now. And like I always say, if it's God's will, it's God's bill, okay? So I'm just here as your hype woman, your cheerleader, and your coach to remind you that it's up to you to make the decisions on how finances rule your world. Take back your life, increase your joy, remix your joy. Thank you.